four straight losses.
Welcome, everyone, to Rutgers at the Voice of College Football. I'm here with my fantastic co-hosts, Gabriel Pickup and Donovan Gibbs. And we're here approximately 48 hours after that 56-10 loss to the Oregon Ducks, which really leaves us very concerned for the rest of Rutgers season and for the future of Rutgers football. But before we discuss that, this Saturday, Rutgers goes to West Lafayette, Indiana, to play the Purdue Boilermakers, a 2-5 team that has been competitive in some games. The question is, will the losing streak continue? So let's start off with you, Gabe. What are your thoughts about the upcoming game in the state of Rutgers football?
Jason, that is a record time to be disappointed as a Rutgers fan, at least on this show. I'm sure there's other Rutgers fans that get disappointed quicker into other shows. Here's the thing. We haven't won a Big Ten game this year, but Purdue hasn't won one either, and they lost a non-conference game. They've lost 5 in a row. We've lost 4 in a row. It's not necessarily apples to oranges. I think it's just a battle of which team is worse right now instead of which team is better. That being said, we are favored by 2.5 points. You would think coming into the season, it would be a lot better of a line, possibly like a 16 or 17, but 2.5 point favorites. So Purdue was shut out by Northwestern, played Minnesota close, lost by 2 scores to Illinois, and gave up 56 to Notre Dame. But at this point, the last 2 games, defensively, they've been okay. They just have no offense, which you can always expect to change against us. If you need some offense, play Rutgers and you'll get some offense. So it doesn't bode well for us in that category. And based on the fact that nothing has changed all year with the defense, not necessarily scheme-wise, but results, I'm still not confident. And it's crazy to say against Purdue that I'm not confident, but I need to be proven wrong at this point. So yeah, I can definitely see us losing. I still will hope we win, but I think at this point it's going to be something like 21-17 Purdue.
All right. Good thoughts there. Donovan, what do you think?
Yes, you're 100% correct in the fact that Purdue is losing, on the recipient of 5 straight losses, while Rutgers is on the recipient of 4 straight losses. But these are still, for the most part, 2 different teams, and I see this as a winnable game for Rutgers, primarily just due to just today, the Purdue starting quarterback Ryan Brown is doubtful to even play, so they're most likely going to play it, but potentially against a backup QB, and it gives this Rutgers defense a chance to most likely retune and just be able to recoup and just be able to show a response and show that they aren't as easy of a defense that many have speculated due to the beatdown that Oregon gave them last week at SHI. So I can see this as a winnable game for Rutgers, and I'm sad I can't even get to watch this game because I have a game as well at 12 noon because I have former teammates that are going to be on both sides of the field on Saturday with my boy Elijah St. John playing defensive line for Purdue and my guy Mashu Gira playing offensive line for Rutgers. So hopefully either one of them are able to get into this game. But I honestly still see this as a winnable game for Rutgers just due to this team looks better than what Purdue is going to provide on the field Saturday.
Well, I hope that your boy Giwa does see a lot of time out there because last week I don't believe that Giwa was a first stringer, and we had 12 pressures against Callie McManus. Taj White, his pass blocking grade was 13.7. And Kaj Sanders in coverage had 3 targets against him, 3 receptions for 111 yards and a touchdown. That's all courtesy of On3. So something's clearly got to change. I talk about the defense in the last part, but that pressure against Ethan is it's not Big Ten like. In fact, it's not Power Four conference like. It might not even be FBS like. That's a pathetic showing against a team that you expect to win even by a considerable amount, but by 46, putting up 10 points against them. And granted, Oregon's defense is amazing, just like their offense is, but it's just been a steady downhill slope for us all year. As the opponents have gotten tougher, we have not gotten better. So something's got to change offensively too at this point. And Diwa had an impressive second half against Norfolk State. He's subbed in for Needham before, and he has had a good PFF grade before. So I do hope that he not only plays a lot, but I hope he starts this week against Purdue.
Yeah, I mean, when I look at the trajectory of the season, I think about, look, our first 3 games, we start out 3-0. But the highlight of that 3-0 start was we defeated an Ohio team that was fairly competitive with Ohio State in the first 3 quarters of the game in Columbus. Good start. Then we have 3 games after that, Iowa, Minnesota, and Washington, that are 3 winnable games. We lose all 3, but we're in the games, particularly in the fourth quarter. In 2 of those 3 games, we have the lead by 4 points. So frustrating that we lost all those, all 3 games, but we were still competitive. Then you go to Game 7, and it was really just a total domination by Oregon and a complete regression by Rutgers, both on offense and defense. And I think that when you looked at that game, Rutgers was just non-competitive throughout. And I think the trajectory for Rutgers right now is not a good one. And when I look at Purdue, they may be 2-5, but they only lost to Minnesota by 7. They scored 30 against Purdue. They scored 27 against Illinois in a 16-point loss. So Purdue is not a great team, but they're a team, especially at home, that's capable of defeating Rutgers. And I am not optimistic about this Saturday. And for the reasons I've stated, I think the losing streak continues.
Yeah, and I hope that we're wrong, because this is very clearly the easiest opponent left on our schedule. After this, it's Ohio State, Penn State, and Maryland.
Illinois as well, who's still trying to keep their playoff chances alive. So the easiest game is looking like either Maryland or Penn State currently.
Yeah.
Our path to 6-6 in a bowl game, if we wanted to be optimistic, would be beating Purdue, beating Penn State, and beating Maryland, because that Penn State team is a mess.
They're susceptible.
Yeah, and it's at home. So I think, but I don't see us. I think Purdue's going to come out. They're going to be hungry. They're going to, they're a competitive team. And Rutgers is coming into this game off of really a historic loss that highlighted, or shall I say, exposed massive deficiencies in their secondary. Hodge Sanders has not been having a good year. Jet Eli has not been doing well. Defensive line getting no push. Offensive line causing Athan to be in really under duress all game. That's why in part he went 8 for 25. So they've regressed across the board, and I don't know if the coaches are going to be able to get them ready to play Purdue, and I don't know if the players themselves are in the mindset right now that's conducive to bouncing back from this.
Yeah.
You say that the secondary was exposed greatly against Oregon. I say it was the front 7. 400 yards on the ground. As a player who's been on an offensive line where we've done that before last season, I worry for what a lot of their defensive front 7 are dealing with this Monday in the film room, because that's very inexcusable for on a defensive front, and that's heavily on why Oregon was able to just dominate, because a lot of those runs, 11 yards per pop, that's demoralizing for any sort of defense.
You're 100% right, and I mean
400 yards rushing, or on the ground rather.
750 total yards, 400 of it was on the ground.
Yeah, they were a first down away from having the most total yards on the road as a program.
Yeah, and what did we talk about on many shows? How these transfers were going to have an impact with size and speed and experience. And if there's one lesson, these transfers have not panned out. I think the increase in the level of competition may be a factor. But what we said all year was if they cannot get to the quarterback and disrupt the quarterback, it could be a long season for Rutgers. Well, that's really rearing its ugly head, and I think Rutgers is at a crossroads now. If they don't win this game, I don't think they're going to win any more games for the rest of the season.
Yeah, and honestly, we were saying before the week that the rush defense has gotten better, and it looked like it before Oregon, before 11 yards per carry on the ground. And I don't want to talk too much about what went wrong for Oregon because the answer is just everything. But how can we bounce back from that? And when you listen to press conferences, what more can Shiano say? Because he has said everything 5 times over again, and we haven't seen any results, and we're not close. It's not something that's around the corner. We're just going to have to win by any means. If we don't win against Purdue, for Shiano's legacy, I could see this being the Penn State Northwestern of Rutgers' year.
I don't think we're going to beat Purdue because the problems we have, in my opinion, aren't fixable in 1 week. I mean, Jason O highlights that Oregon's offensive plays, Oregon was sticking every block and Rutgers couldn't shed anything at all. I think that Rutgers is failing on so many levels, lack of execution, and I dare say lack of talent in some regard, and lack of that kind of winning mindset. Because if you heard reports from the game in pregame, they didn't look inspired at all. This is not Rutgers' year, and it brings me to a broader point of, Coach Shiano, of course, has been historically he's the best coach in Rutgers history and brought us some wonderful seasons, and I have a tremendous amount of respect for him. But at the end of the day, is this as far as we're going to go under Coach Shiano, and should we ultimately be looking for new leadership in the coming year or two?
I see primarily this game being huge motivation to both squads, Rutgers and Purdue, because to be completely honest, looking at both of their schedules, this looks like the final chance to even become bowl eligible for both teams. For Purdue, if they have one more loss, they got to win out, and the rest of their schedule is Michigan, Ohio State, Washington, Indiana. They're not winning not a single one of those games. I truly believe that wholeheartedly. While for Rutgers, as you said before, Illinois on the road, Maryland, Ohio State, Penn State. If Rutgers is able to get a win, it gives them the opportunity to lose one of those games, to lose either against Ohio State or the potential to lose against Illinois, because they'll still be able to potentially beat out Maryland and still win out senior day against Penn State and still become bowl eligible at 6-6. But if they lose this game, they have to win out to even try to make a bowl, and that's where I can see where Adams is talking about Greg Schiano's legacy being at risk. So I see this more as Billy Napier, Florida against Texas, where the hot seat is starting to get warmer and warmer and warmer and warmer, and the temperature keeps on rising. Then I do see it as this is the nail in the coffin. I feel like this is just the calm before the potential storm.
And let's not forget, too, that they're looking at us and saying the same thing we're saying about them. We're saying that they're our easiest opponent. They're saying we're their easiest opponent. So the exact same speech that I can give here, they're giving in the locker room tomorrow. They're giving in the locker room right before game day. And Purdue's staff might be a little insecure too. So it's like we have way more expectations than they do, especially coming into the year. But the situations are very much identical.
Yeah, and you know what, Gabe? One thing that and Donovan, those were really good points. I think we're sitting here and we're talking about whether Rutgers has a path to 6-6 in a bowl game. That's not where I want to be. I want to be talking about a path to the playoffs and, dare I say, a national championship. And so when we're talking about a path to 6-6, that tells me two things: that the problem isn't just on the field. The problem is also off the field. We have significant NIL issues that over a 5-year period, we haven't apparently done anything to develop NIL, and that's certainly handicapped Coach Schiano. But, Rutgers is not getting the kind of talent it needs because, players from New Jersey and elsewhere with NIL are going to the Notre Dames and Michigans, the, Ohio States. So we're not going to be improving unless on the field we have better talent, and off the field we have the means to get that talent through recruiting. So That brings you to the question, is Schiano the problem? No, I don't think Coach Schiano is the problem. But I think that at some point, Coach Schiano is going to say, enough is enough with all this. I want my legacy to be intact. And I'm not going to sit here for 5 more years going 6-6 or hoping that we go 6-6. And I think this season is going to be the season where we don't go 6-6. And if nothing changes by next year, Schiano is going to leave Rutgers.
Yeah, I don't think he's the problem either. If you want to be talking about playoff aspirations and championship aspirations, then maybe that logo on your polo T-shirt might serve you better. But in terms of Rutgers,
of course, Gabe has
he has the best chance for Rutgers.
And you know, I will say, for in full disclosure for the audience, after Gabe attacked me viciously, I did go to college at USC, yes. So I am a USC fan. But I'm a Jersey guy. I grew up here, and I love Rutgers. But what I'm seeing from Rutgers is not only more of the same, but a downward trajectory. And I do think part of it is this, and I could be wrong. It seems like the philosophy of the Rutgers football program is to work your ass off, be tough, and be physical, and that's all well and good. But I don't see the coaches as X's and O's type of coaches. And I think that might be missing and kind of manifest on the field during game day coaching. And I wonder if that's part of the problem.
Yeah, Jason, I would say Schiano's legacy is getting us out of consistent 3-win seasons. He's sort of, if you follow basketball, been our Mark Jackson for the Golden State Warriors. Not that necessarily James Franklin or whoever else would be a Steve Kerr. But when you talk about NIL and that being a problem, you're absolutely right. But it's too late in the year to worry about that this year. What can we change on the field this year? And in terms of play calling, I believe it's getting Rob Smith out of the play calling. But I've been very vocal about that, and Schiano hasn't adjusted that specifically, so I don't think it's going to change. Specifically because, Adam, you mentioned it in our group chat, he hired Rob Smith to be his play caller defensively, and he's not going to admit that Rob Smith is wrong at this point in the year.
Well, you mentioned the word called adjustments, and what I'm saying is this. It's not just about making adjustments at halftime on the field. I think Coach Schiano has to make adjustments in his overall approach to coaching. He's got to start going outside the box in terms of coaches that he hires, okay, and change the way he's doing things. And Jason O talks about his legacy. Jason O, I would say his legacy is that he brought Rutgers to at least a competitive stature during his stints here. Sure, we weren't, 11-0. We didn't compete for a national title, but he at least brought us to a degree of respectability. What I'm saying is that I don't see that degree of respectability returning at this point.
Yeah. How are you doing, Mr. Husker? A little bit of a tough loss to Minnesota, but that program still has a pretty bright future, especially with Dylan Ravioli at.
Oh, that shit! No.
You're talking about great value, Patrick Mahomes.
Yes, sir.
The problem with Nebraska is that Dylan Raiola looks the part, but in my view, is not a great quarterback. It is TJ Lateef time at Nebraska.
I agree, specifically with that first part, but I'm a big Ravioli hater, so I don't want that to make it seem like I know what I'm talking about with that program. But in terms of us, we mentioned NIL, and our NIL does get launched the day after Schiano goes on his tirade to that reporter about NIL or lack thereof being funded at Rutgers. And it's interesting that, I've never seen it embraced so quickly. There was a flag that fans were holding in the student section, and they were waving it around, and it said RNIL on it. I've never seen a monetary budget program be waved around at a football game before. But you mentioned lack of enthusiasm before the game starts. You have celebrities in attendance. It's homecoming. You have record sellouts. Everyone's, doing their tailgating beforehand.
There was other celebrities outside of the Rizzler?
There were a few other TikTokers that I forget the name of, because apparently at 25 years old, I'm too much of a boomer to know them.
Well,
oh my God, I'm 22. I'm right around the corner.
So Rutgers, you guys stop talking about your age, because I'm 49 and I'm going to be 50 in 2 months. So everything for me is downhill from here. But I envy you. I think we have a new president at Rutgers University, William Tate, and Mr. President Tate, a warm welcome to Rutgers. And we have athletic director Kelly Zinn. Where do they come from? LSU. They are not going to tolerate this. And what they're going to do, in my view, is they're going to talk to Coach Schiano and they're going to say, look, we're behind you, but you're going to have to do things differently. All right? You may have to hire coaches that are outside of your comfort zone. You may have to take a different approach. And if he doesn't produce in the next year or two, I'm not sure that Greg Schiano is going to want to stay there. And again, I'm not criticizing him, but I think that I get the sense, kind of like at Penn State, that the era of change is coming to Rutgers.
And yeah, Jersey Joe is who I was thinking of. Thank you, Jason. I don't know who that is.
Did you mean Jersey Mike's?
No, there's a Jersey Joe. I think he's another influencer. Adam, do you know who the Rizzler is?
No, who is the Rizzler?
It's like a 10-year-old kid. He does like this little pose on TikTok. It's like, yeah.
No, but is the Rizzler coming on the show tonight?
That would be awesome if he does. He's got millions of followers. No, but he was in attendance for Rutgers, Oregon, and he was like the big attraction, no pun intended, at the game.
And typically, when he goes to games, the team typically wins. I still remember he went to, I think, game 1 for the Knicks.
Yeah. Yep.
And during the
Knicks Celtics
Eastern Conference Final, what they won.
No, that was Knicks Celtics. If he went to game 1 of Knicks Pacers, then he is the bad luck charm because we had a 14-point lead with.
Yes, it was Knicks Celtics. I think it was game 4 Knicks Celtics.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's the one where we went up 3-1 and Jason Tatum tore his Achilles.
Yeah. It was that game.
Yeah. Adam, yeah, he's a Jersey kid. What about the We Bring the Boom Costco guys? Do you know them?
No, I don't know if I should know them. Who are they?
You got to get your lore up, man.
You know who Nebraska needs? You know who Rutgers needs at its home games from now on? They need the Incredible Hulk. They need some average-looking guy to come to the games and then get angry and then just get really big and green and mean and instill some killer mindset in these players. I mean, here's the thing about Rutgers. So the game that killed Penn State was Oregon. I think the game that killed Rutgers' season was Iowa. I think that was a backbreaker for them, and I don't think they ever recovered.
I would say the play that killed Rutgers was the bad snap by Zelinskis, who is
You say it was Iowa. I feel like it's like in this term of that like destroyed the morale for the season. I say it was Minnesota.
Yeah, because after that, we would go from 3.5 quarters played well to 1.5 quarters played well, and against Oregon 1.5 drives really. Jason, I remember that the Gandolfini days. Well, I don't remember them personally, but I've seen videos. I know that he was in a commercial with Schiano too, I believe.
He was on the sidelines, and you know what? Speaking of The Sopranos, in my former life, I used to be an actor, and I auditioned for The Sopranos, and I was actually on one episode of The Sopranos, season 4, but that's irrelevant.
No way.
We got to meet.
What episode?
I was just an extra. It was season 4 when AJ was with his girlfriend in a restaurant and was going to propose.
Okay. I thought you were.
I was at the bar.
Of course you were.
Like Will Ferrell goes to USC games, a lot of celebrities at USC games. James Gandolfini was going, a big supporter of Rutgers. It seems like Rutgers is losing steam and that Schiano 2.0 is not going to recapture the respectability under Schiano 1.0. I do think Tate and Zinn are going to make a change. I think it's going to be an amicable exit. I think it's going to happen sooner rather than later. And again, no disrespect to Schiano, but I think Tate and Zinn, the LSU pedigree, they want to win. They want to win now. And it's not going to happen, in my view, unless there's some significant changes at the coaching and player level.
Well, I would agree with you because of the fact that Schiano wasn't their hire. But the counter to that is not with President Tate, but necessarily not with him, but like with AD Zinn. Don't you think Schiano had some sort of approval of her hiring?
He may have had some approval, but I think that these people coming from LSU, they want national championships. And I think, in my view, Schiano is wedded to a certain type of philosophy about how to play football. And I'm not sure that he's going to be willing to make the kinds of adjustments in terms of hiring coaches and really drilling down on X's and O's and game day play calling. I think that that's one of the things that hurts Rutgers. It's a lot about toughness and perseverance and intensity, but when I see the X's and O's on game day and the lack of adjustments, I think that's where there's some falling short, shall we say, kind of like Ed Orgeron at LSU.
Yeah, and I just want to piggyback on what you said about the AD call. I don't think Shiano had a big say in regards to the hiring of Kelly Zinn. I feel like he was, if he did have a say, I feel like he was for the hiring because it just for Shiano being trying to be part of a winning culture, being able to get an AD from a big time SEC school just sounds more like a positive in his eyes than a potential negative. But bringing that also brings the expectation that these ADs have from the SEC, and that is you have to win and you got to win now. And it's when it comes to the SEC, it's what have you done for me recently? And they might not look at Shiano's past efforts of being able to revive this Rutgers team, getting them back to 7-5, getting them back into playing in mid-tier bowl games. They're going to look at this season currently, and where two of their games they had the lead going into the fourth quarter, and if they were just able to maintain onto it, it's a different conversation than what we have today. So they're definitely going to look into that. And I know what Adam is saying about ADs in regards to they want this fast, they want this now. It's not going to be able to happen overnight, but I can see over the next 2-3 years, this process is going to ramp up fast, where they're going to not just they're going to put more money into this football team and be able to put more resources into recruiting, whether it's out of high school or just for transfers.
Yeah, and Jason O, that's a good point, Donovan. And Jason O makes a good point. I do think Shiano has a lot of pull to school, and I think he's built a lot of relationships at the school. I mean, he lives, a mile from the stadium. So he's all in on Rutgers. So it's tough to part ways with someone who has a good reputation at the school, who's committed and has those relationships. But I think when you're looking at a president and an AD from LSU, like Jason said, her job particularly is going to be at risk if she sticks with a coach that isn't winning. And I could see them parting ways with him in a year or two if it doesn't at least go towards a 7 or 8 win season. And for what I'm seeing right now, I think Shiano is probably extremely disappointed and even surprised at the lack of production on defense. But when I look ahead to next year and the year after, it's all about recruiting. And if they can't get the NIL, it's going to be more of the same. And what's particularly troubling is something else Jason said. You had a fan base that was enthusiastic this year. There's nothing worse than a fan base coming out and supporting the team and seeing more of the same. And that is
at the homecoming too. That's the part I gotta add on to as well.
Yeah.
It felt like I didn't leave Austin Zoo watching from last week's Oregon Indiana game into this week's Oregon's Rutgers game, because it was a lot of green and yellow at SHI, and I was actually surprised. It felt like how the Rams when they play the 49ers at SoFi, where it's just a sea of red. It felt like that just for Oregon, and that's already disheartening for the players, because when they're playing at home, they want to really be around students, want to be around fans of the team, because it gives them extra motivation. And seeing that this team came into the game already feeling low on energy and just leaving this game feeling disgusted, that hurts, especially knowing that they have 2 more games on the road until their next chance of playing at home.
And Oregon is one of the furthest possible opponents that we would face. It's them or UCLA, USC, whatever. And so that's the other crazy part about Oregon, not necessarily taking over, but being right there with you for attendance at a Rutgers game in Piscataway, New Jersey. And in terms of Shiano, I honestly think that President Tate and AD Zinn have been looking around at the other big schools this year, and the theme has been you need to be a little impatient with your coaching staff. You look at Florida, a historically great school, And Napier, who has had his success at Florida and also had his failures, especially starting this year, they cut him mid-year. Penn State, James Franklin helped rebuild that school entirely. You cut him after some really bad losses. UCLA, they get this whole rebrand, especially with like NIL, because you bring in Yama Liava. You start off 0-3. That's it for your coach. And there's plenty of other examples, Oklahoma State, some others I haven't mentioned because there's just so many this year. So
you forgot to mention Arkansas going back to Sam Pittman, kind of doing the same thing that Rutgers did with a Shiano returner.
Yeah, and there's one more I'm forgetting. I don't remember exactly which one it is, but that's my point though, is that it feels like there's been more firings mid-season this year than there has been in years past, and I think that when you look at the top schools doing this too, or the expected top schools that were ranked coming into the year doing it, I think that Rutgers, it's not necessarily impossible that if we lose to Purdue, you see a coaching change in the next few days after that. I mean, it'll be interesting to see if we win or lose. And if we lose, it'll be an interesting 24 hours.
Yeah,
I just want to touch up on that. My apologies, though. I just want to touch up on that comment you made in regards to there's a lot of mid-season coach firings. I just want to. Do y'all think the expansion of the playoff is kind of rushing a lot of these coaches' clocks, since a lot of these schools are seeing that there's more opportunities for these teams to get into the playoffs and be successful, so it leads to a shorter leash?
100%. Because that's triple the opportunity, or no, it's double the opportunities. I'm not a math major, man, but it's 8 more opportunities, and a 4-team playoff out of 136 is a very slim chance. And so it would take a school 10 to 15 years to rebuild instead of in Indiana taking a couple of years to rebuild. And now all of a sudden they're a powerhouse. So yes, I do think that it is absolutely rushing teams, not necessarily because their season's over quicker, but because if you lose 3 or 4 games, then all of a sudden you're kind of showing that that's like a standard now moving forward.
I mean, I think Donovan's a great question. I think what's happening is, I think it's frustrating for coaches because you know what ADs are probably telling their coaches? Now, all you have to do is be in the top 12. So if you're not in the top 12, you know, you're a failure. So it's like at one point it expands the opportunities, but it also increases the expectations for the coaches. And, you know, with regard to Rutgers, though, they're not even in the conversation. And, you know, that running back for Oregon, I think his name was Whittington, if I'm correct.
Yeah.
The holes were so big for Whittington that I heard he actually ran back to Eugene and arrived there just minutes ago, because those holes were so massive. And it was like, it sends the message to Rutgers and its leadership. Okay, we lost to Minnesota, Iowa, and Washington, but we were competitive. Here, it was not even close, and it showed where we are and where the top teams are. And unless that gap is bridged, I don't think Kelly Zinn is going to tolerate this for more than a year. If not, she may make a switch at the end of the season.
And what do you guys think about Pitts Knight Pusker's comment here? It seems very interesting because, I mean, it's true. And at what point do you blame the players versus the staff? Those are the only 2 scapegoats left.
I don't think you blame the players, the staff, you know, in isolation. I think you blame the culture. What kind of a culture do you have where a team would lose 56-10 and be down 42-3 at the half? Rutgers is not that bad where they should be down 42-3 at the half. So my question is the culture a winning culture right now? And I'm not sure that it is. As much as I love Coach Shiano, I think that he's hit the ceiling of where Rutgers is going to go, and I think it's time for a leadership change. I'm sorry to say it.
Yeah, I agree with you on that, because even with NIL, I don't mean to expand my example here, but you can say the same thing about Rutgers football as you can say about Rutgers basketball when it comes to there not being in a winning culture, despite having NIL attendance and facilities going up. Those are all great resources, but if you don't have it in a area full of winners is not going to really bring anything. It's just going to show how nice your school is, but not really return any of the success that comes from having those nice amenities. And you can say that about Rutgers basketball as well, because they had two of the best players in the country, and they didn't even have a chance to make the tournament, let alone get through the first round of the Big Ten tournament. So for when it goes to Rutgers and just being able to have all these newer resources, being able to reestablish their higher ups in regarding to their presidents and new athletic directors, it's going to be a complete change from the ground up, and or honestly from the ground down. If you're looking at just the how the corporate ladder is for Rutgers situation, but it's going to be built from the higher ups, and it's going to affect through the coaches than to the players. So right now they're only, I would say, just part one of what they're trying to do.
So let me ask you guys this then, and it's with all respect in the world, because of course you play football at LIU, but when you look at Rutgers and you brought up, bringing in winners instead of players that are good but not winning, what do you think? Do you think that necessarily we should change that approach to, instead of bringing up superstars from Ohio or JMU or LIU or what's the other one? There's one other school around the corner from here, I forget. Instead of that, do you think we should be bringing in like third stringers or fourth stringers from an Ohio State or a Michigan if it's about equal?
I would say most likely just try to still recruit in the area, because they are due to just what happened at Penn State. Their pipeline of south of Jersey, including Philadelphia, that whole area of the tri-state area, it's open now. It's an even game now.
Sure.
Those kids that were looking at Rutgers offers as the first opportunity to seeing Penn State, they've automatically flipped into Penn State. There's going to be a lot of thinking for those players now to stick with Rutgers due to just what Rutgers has currently. Because if you put the roster side by side currently, Rutgers looks better than Penn State at this time, which is something neither Gabe nor Adam would have said at the beginning of the year when we were doing the schedule predictions.
No.
But I digress. For Rutgers, I wasn't as against the transfers that they picked up, because they did a good job getting what they were able to get. No one expected a mid-tier Big Ten school to pick up a guy that had the second most sacks at FBS last season, Eric O'Neal. That's hard regardless. That's impressive at that time. So seeing what we're talking about, the transfers and how they're picking up the transfers, is very just hindsight. But overall, I see right now, just due to what's going on at Penn State, it gives Rutgers a huge hope in the future in regards to recruiting in their pipelines.
And you don't think they necessarily travel a few more hours west and see Ohio State as the new Penn State?
If they're good enough to go to Ohio State, they don't even think about going to Penn State.
That's fair.
Yeah, and I think also I kind of like to make analogies sometimes. And a football team is kind of like, in one way, it's kind of like dating. You go out with somebody on a first date. You go out with them on a few dates. There's either chemistry and you're like, this is the one, or you're like, no, it's just, I like this person, but it just doesn't seem like a good fit. The chemistry on a football team has to be like the person who thinks that the one they're dating is the one, because guess what? Unlike in the dating world, you cannot break up with them. You're with them for the entire season. And what I'm seeing at Rutgers is I don't see the chemistry.
The only player I see taking accountability on a week-to-week basis is Ethan, and that's why he's one of the two captains, him and Jordan Walker.
Jordan Walker has been talking, has been holding a lot of accountability as well.
I saw that
being able for both of them to even look at the media or even take questions after a loss like that says a lot about their character, and just being able to say that, yeah, we lost today, but we're going to go back to the drawing board and try to recoup for next week. A lot of players in that situation, especially at home, at a homecoming, a lot of people in the stands not even being from your fan base. That's very tough on the mind of young athletes. So that was impressive by both of them.
Yeah, Jordan Walker said he was sick to his stomach, which that's a good summation of how we all feel. And the thing is, whatever we say or can say, unfortunately, they already know, that's the reason why we're going hard on Shiano right now, or at least going hard on Kelly Zinn or the athletic department in total, is because they know what we know, but things haven't necessarily changed.
Well, I mean, I think the reason that they're sick to their stomach is because if you looked at that game, a lot of their big plays came on 3rd and long. All right, so it wasn't, Rutgers was getting them in 3rd and long positions and then lost in the secondary. No pressure on the quarterback. And I don't care who you are. Rutgers is not so bad as to be down 42-3 at the half. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I agree with you because if you even look at the game, they were able to cause a turnover on Oregon on their first drive.
Yeah. Now I'm going to say something, and Pit Snipe Huskers raised this. I believe James Franklin should be hired as the next Rutgers coach. He is a program builder. He's a very good coach. He has local ties. And I think that he would be a perfect fit because after getting fired at Penn State, Franklin is not going to get hired by Florida, or he needs to go to a team that he can build from the ground up and make his own. I think he can do that at Rutgers.
Florida's already kind of been in the rumor mill for him, though.
Florida wants to be in a situation where they want to be at the top of the SEC. James Franklin is not going to get them there.
Totally agree with you.
Well,
that's it.
If we're talking about how Shiano has reached his peak, James Franklin would raise us, but he wouldn't bring us home.
James Franklin is going to get 4-star recruits. And I think James Franklin, and I hate to say this, I love Coach Shiano. I think James Franklin might be a better fit for Rutgers at this time.
Yes.
And I think it would be the kind of cultural fit with Rutgers, because cultural fit is important for a coach. Franklin is not a cultural fit with Florida. Just like Brian Kelly, it really isn't a great cultural fit with LSU.
Yeah.
But Kurt Cignetti is an absolute wonderful fit with Indiana. And being able to determine when there's a cultural fit is really hard, but it can make the difference between a good program and one that's elite.
And
yeah,
you got it.
And for James Franklin, I said it as well. In this regard, I agree with you on the fact of just how Franklin is a program builder, and he's done this in a similar situation before. Not only doing it with Penn State, but doing it with a team like Vanderbilt and bringing them to relevance back in the early 2010s. And he could do the same thing with Rutgers under NIL, being able to be in the same type of situations of recruiting in the same areas, not being so far away from recruiting Pennsylvania, as well as, to be completely honest, the new system of how the rankings are, and especially if Rutgers is able to get Franklin and potentially have the opportunity of making a playoff berth. College football playoffs are built for coaches and systems for teams such as James Franklin. That's the main reason why he was able to make it for the first time last year when they extended the spots. So adding James Franklin is going to be able to put Rutgers in that tier of, okay, we can potentially be in a rank. We can potentially get to the top 25. We can get into there because James Franklin has done that before with multiple teams.
Yeah, and I think Franklin, he's the kind of coach where he loves his players. He loves to be a mentor. He invests in his players.
Players love him way more too.
Yeah, and he has a family and he has children. And does he want to take his family all the way across the country, or does I think there's a level of familiarity here, both in location and in recruiting, that makes him. And believe me, Rutgers, I almost could guarantee it, even though I have no knowledge of it. I bet you the AD at Rutgers would say, James, we're handing you the key to the football program. Whatever you want, you get. Whoever you want to hire, you get. So it's an attractive option for him and not necessarily a demotion.
And by the way, I'm totally on board for bringing in Franklin. I'm just playing devil's advocate because if all three of us just talk about how much we want him, no one's going to be the yeah, but guy. But the only thing I will say to end the devil's advocacy is we talk about not necessarily lack of NIL, but lack of where it needs to be. If we've switched from Shiano to Franklin, he's costing $3 to $5 million more because Shiano is getting like $5 million a year. I mean, I seriously think that if Franklin came here, it would be 8 to 10 million, up to maybe even 11 or 12 per year.
Well, if you want to marry the girl that you love, you don't buy her a cubic zirconia. You buy her a beautiful diamond ring. And Rutgers is going to have to put up or shut up.
And also,
due to the current situation and just a moniker that James Franklin has on him, as from just the media and just overall how his record is when it comes to being in big games, I feel like you're going to be able to possibly negotiate that price from 8 to 10 million to possibly from 11 to 12 million to potentially 8 to 10 million a year, because just due to a lot of teams are looking at him as somebody it's not going to get them over the hump. So that's why I don't see a Florida going after them. I genuinely don't see any other big name schools in the SEC or potentially in the ACC if they're looking for coaches as well, let alone the Big 12. The Big 12 are not even involved in it. All their coaches look amazing. So James Franklin is in a situation where, one, does he even want to coach again? But if he does want to coach, who is willing to take that chance on him? And due to the fact of taking that chance, I feel like he wouldn't mind taking a pay cut, knowing that he just made $50 million just doing nothing.
And by the way, you asked, does he want to coach again? Part of his clause of getting his buyout is that he does seek to coach again. So I think he wants that money specifically for that reason.
Well, on College Game Day, he specifically said he can't wait to coach again. But here's the thing. I could see two scenarios unfolding. I could see the question with Franklin is going to be when Rutgers picks up the phone, is Franklin just going to outright reject it and say, no, I was the Penn State coach. I'm not doing that.
Well, does he feel that loyalty anymore, though?
Or is he going to say, all right, let's explore this? The other scenario is this. Eli Drinkowitz from Missouri goes to Penn State and Franklin goes to Missouri. I could see that potentially happening because Drinkowitz is in the running for Penn State.
I can see that too. Missouri kind of in the same situation that Penn State was in at the beginning of the year, where they're like that mid-tier team that could try to make a lot of noise. And even with the loss to Alabama, they're still in the running for the SEC. It's any man's game right now. Even the Vanderbilt Commodores, just want to shout them out real fast. Shout out to Diego Pavia. But back to Rutgers, I will say that I feel for James Franklin that Penn State kind of turned his back on him. Seeing how James Franklin left that final game at Northwestern felt very significant of how. Remember when Andrew Luck retired mid-game?
Yeah.
Mid-preseason game, and everybody was booing him on his way out the door, even though he gave them. Gave them so many years of hard work and effort and success to that team. I feel like that's the same thing for James Franklin. They waited until he got into the they booed him off the field. Wait till he got to the tunnel and booed him again as he was walking through the door chanting "Fire him." Yeah. So I honestly don't see that loyalty still being there, and if it is, that would be very surprising.
It's like how Knicks fans wanted Tibbs gone, and then when he left, they were shocked. You know who I bet is itching to talk about this? Our friend in the waiting room, Pitt. Should we bring him on?
Absolutely. And if Pitt is short for Pitt Snipe Husker, then we have a Nebraska Cornhuskers fan on the show. Nebraska, of course, I believe it was that 1995 team that ran all over Florida. But in any event, if this is the Pitt Snipe Husker, we absolutely welcome you to the show and are thrilled to hear whatever you want to say. The floor is yours.
Yeah, it's me, Mr. Lamparello. How we doing today, buddy?
All right, great to hear from you. Thanks for coming on.
I don't really know nothing today. I mean, I think Rutgers is a better job than what you guys inside the circle think it is. Again, I think they're spending their conference money. They're making investments into NIL. Maybe they need more. We all do. facilities, everything they can do. And bringing Shiano in was a good first step. Maybe it's time to part ways. I don't know. I ain't going to make that call. But if you got a James Franklin sitting in the waiting room, the guy can build a foundation, right?
Yeah, I totally agree with you.
He's on the record doing it.
I mean, it's like the situation at Penn State. Although I think that it was unfair the way they fired him, there was this sense that he had reached his ceiling. I get the same sense at Rutgers.
Ooh.
And I think the timing is everything. You have a coach who has just been fired who could elevate Rutgers to the next level, and I think that's something they need to pursue, especially with an AD that comes from a winning program. Now, Pitts 9 Pusker, I want to ask you this. What are your thoughts on Matt Rule?
I'm waffling this week. I'm waffling, and I think that's a fair thing to do. I mean, you got to realize that there was a lot of strings attached when Matt Rule came here. Part of them was the entire Raiola family, and that's not an awful thing. Dominic Raiola won the first Remington Award for the greatest center in college football, named after our forever winning everything center, Dave Remington. It's not a bad tie for us to have. However, I think it leaves us chained to an offensive line coach that, man, just ain't getting her done, bro. Just ain't getting her done.
Yeah, I think it was 9 sacks. And, Rutgers, Nebraska, historically elite program. We keep waiting for Nebraska to break through and become a contender again. And I think that they have some of those ingredients in place. But when I look at Matt Rule, I see a coach who is a good coach, but I keep feeling like Nebraska still needs to hit that home run higher, and that Matt Rule may not be the guy. But I'm no expert, so it's just my thought.
I mean, you guys were surely favored against Minnesota, right?
Yeah, they were ranked 25th at that time. That was a 25th ranked game.
We've seen cases of ranked teams being dogs to unranked teams, which is sort of ass backwards, but we've seen it a lot.
Very.
Yeah.
We started at 9.5 points.
Sorry, what?
We started at 9.5 points. It had whittled its way down to 6.5 at game time, if I'm quoting that right.
Yeah. Well, if you want to talk about not covering lines, we started as 15.5 point dogs, and we lost by 46. So right there with you.
Well, when things start going wrong, you're no longer watching the 5-star and 4-star and the athleticism of your team. Now you're just watching, can you take a beating like a man? Come on, boy, get up. Can you take a beating like a man? And, man, my Huskers have taken those beatings too. This one, hey, at least it was only 24 because Minnesota could have put up 137 on us.
One more point than however many FBS teams there are.
Say again.
I think that's how many FBS teams there are. Maybe it's 136. It's one of those two. So
I think it's 136.
Here's the thing about Nebraska. When I think of Nebraska football, apart from thinking of Tom Osborne, I think about Nebraska's history. Like when I was 9 years old, and my dad and I were in front of the TV watching Turner Gill and Mike Rozier nearly take down the Hurricanes and barely miss it because of a missed 2-point conversion. But Nebraska has a history, and they have expectations. They want to be national title contenders. I don't see the same cultural expectations at Rutgers. And that's what troubles me. We're always sitting here talking about whether we're going to make a bowl game. If Nebraska makes a bowl game, they're disappointed. And they should be. If Rutgers makes a bowl game, we're happy. That's not the way it should be. And I think, again, it goes back to culture where Nebraska has that mindset, and I still don't see us having it.
And if there's in a world where we beat Iowa and we beat Minnesota, we're 5-0 to start the year. We could have been
2-0 in conference.
We could have been talking about being ranked. Like, we were that close. Because 5-0, that's floating around. You have to put them in the top 25 discussion.
Well, we are ranked. We are ranked, Gabe. We are ranked. The question is, where are we ranked? Probably, 86 or something?
We started the year, I would say, like 60th, and we're probably in the 80s now.
I'm disappointed, man. And if I was a Nebraska fan, Pitt Snipe Husker, what I would tell you is this. There's always the belief that Nebraska is going to return to glory because they've been there. Rutgers, I don't think the belief is there. And I think unless there's fundamental changes, you're going to see more of the same.
Well, the belief was there coming into the year, just from us.
Well, the belief that's like the warm fuzzies you get on the way to the locker room as you walk past trophies. And do those warm fuzzies translate into the wins? I can tell you that they do not. It's a matter of the investment in the program. And so long as Nebraska continues to invest in their program every god dang dollar we can throw at it, then we got a chance. We're getting a level of athletes that, that level of athletes should not have been beat by Minnesota this week.
Agreed.
We're getting that level of athletes. We need the next level. We need some bowl wins. We need to put bodies in the NFL. And that just, it's a it's a snowball. Then you get to recruit better. Then you get to recruit better. Then you and it just keeps. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. Rutgers, same thing. It's just fucking A. You ain't got that baggage from the '90s that we got. Everyone wants to hang that over our neck like a freaking albatross.
If we're talking about NFL representation, so we did have Kyle Monangai score his first NFL touchdown, but you know what the highlight of our NFL representation was this past week? And we also had twins facing off, Bo and Max Melton, Packers-Cardinals. But the highlight of Rutgers football representation in the NFL was the Giants kicker missing 2 extra points and them losing by 1 point to the Broncos.
Jude McAdamy was a Rutgers Scarlet Knight?
Yes.
Don't start with that. I would
That is
know.
the representation that we had in the NFL.
Oh, hell.
Was he missing kicks like that at Rutgers?
What's that?
Was he missing kicks like that at Rutgers?
I don't remember.
Let me tell you something. That Giants game yesterday, I was watching that game in Carlstadt, New Jersey, at a place called Steve's Sizzlin' Steakhouse. If you've never been there.
Ooh.
That sounds
And
good.
the steak was fantastic, but the game slowly slipping away. And very, very unfortunate. But look, as far as Nebraska goes, you go to Nebraska Stadium whenever there's home games, you see loyal, dedicated fans that love their team. When our fans came to the Rutgers games this year, they were hoping for something different, and they got more of the same. Now, Jason asked, do we believe Rutgers will be better next year? No, I don't believe Rutgers will be better next year because I think it's going to be more of the same because there are problems on defense that are totally systemic, and breaking in a new quarterback in the Big Ten is going to be a real challenge.
The question is it going to be Suris, or are we going to get a transfer quarterback?
I don't think we'll get a transfer quarterback what transfer quarterback is going to want to come to Rutgers that is better than Suris? You're not going to see Dylan Raiola, for example, go to Rutgers.
You know what's funny?
Shoot, anybody for an opportunity. Like no one expected, like for example, last year for Kyle McCord to go to Syracuse after playing at Ohio State.
Well, I'm looking at our schedule right now. It's funny. The first game is actually against UMass, who our defensive coordinator last year, Steve Harisimak, ended up going to. And then we face Boston College and then Howard. So we should.
You dodged the bullet with the former DC. I was watching the UMass Buffalo game. I don't know how they gave up a win after getting an interception with 1 minute left with the ball in their possession.
Yeah.
Also, Pitt Snipe Husker, if Dylan Raiola, and I hope he doesn't, but if Dylan Raiola does transfer, there's one place that I could see Dylan Raiola transferring to, and it starts with the letter F. It's called Florida.
I see him going to LSU.
I think Florida. I actually concur with Florida. That's if they give
I-
up on Lagway. Are they giving up on Lagway?
No, I don't see them giving them a lot. They won last week. They won against Mississippi State.
Pittsburgh Husker, what do you think?
I don't know. I was chewing on that one, bro. You got to understand the Raiola family influence is pretty heavy, and currently we've got Dayton Raiola is supposed to arrive on campus in January.
Oh,
His sister works in the athletic department. Of course, we got Uncle Donnie there too. Now we got to let go of Uncle Donnie at the end of the season again. I mean, dude, it's Nebraska. We can pay forever salaries. We don't have to fire anybody anymore.
right.
We could just move this guy to an advisor / I don't know,
Yeah.
sack game coordinator. That's your title now, douchebag. And but who do you replace him with? Now, does that result in Matt Rule is a diplomat. Matt Rule gets accused of being a big top preacher. You know, he's a diplomat. If Matt Rule has to let go of Uncle Donnie, I don't think that necessarily results in every Raiola pulling chalks out of Nebraska.
Right.
They're pretty deep here, bro.
True.
Yeah, they are. And going back to Jason's question about will we be better next year? I think we'll be better, but I don't think it'll be because of a new quarterback or a new defensive coordinator. I think it's because of schedule. The first 5 games, UMass, Boston College, Howard, Maryland, Northwestern. I think if all goes well, we should be favored in all those. And then we go into Penn State, and that's where things get tricky because after Penn State, it's Indiana, Michigan, Michigan State, Nebraska, USC, and Wisconsin.
Things don't get tricky at Penn State. I don't
I
think we get tricky at all in Happy Valley. I think we just go there and lose. And then I think we lose to USC. I think we lose to Nebraska. I think we may lose to Michigan State. We will lose to Michigan. So it's this, Gabe, you raise a really good point. It's this front-loaded start to the season where we're supposed to start 3, 4, 5, and 0, but then we wind up bungling a couple of those games, which sets us up for failure when the actual difficult schedule starts. I don't know. And, you know, as far as Dylan Raiola goes, his message to Nebraska should be very simple. Please get offensive linemen so I can shine. Nebraska did suffer an injury or two on their offensive line, I think during the Minnesota game, but Nebraska's got to shore up in the trenches. If they do that, Raiola could break out and be a star.
We had the one injury that was shice. The kid out of Notre Dame.
Yeah.
Had one of those surgeries where he's supposed to be back this week.
Okay.
The other one was Elijah Pritchett, which was the transfer we got out of Alabama.
Yep.
That just, he's got to be stupid at least 3 to 5 plays a game. That's just his modus operandi.
Mm-hmm.
This guy can fuck up a wet dream. And yeah, he got thrown out of the game for tackling a guy he already put on the ground.
I gotta see this targeting just to see if it was like as an offensive lineman to see if it was justified.
No, it wasn't even good, man. It wasn't even heat of the battle, nothing else. He put the guy down. He did a good job. He should have been moving to the next level for another block, and instead, he just kind of fell on this guy. It's like, come on, man.
Yeah, and Jason, that's my point exactly. It's just because Penn State's bad right now doesn't mean that we're going to beat them this year or next year.
Well, Penn State's going to be Penn State, and some people would say that's not necessarily a great thing because I think Penn State's going to be a 9-win team and maybe get to the playoffs and lose. I think the expectations by people at Penn State don't match the reality. But as far as Pritchett goes, yeah, I could kind of see Pritchett right now. He knocks the guy down and probably looks at him and says, "Yeah, you thought you could take me," and then freaking goes down on him again for no reason whatsoever.
Oh, that's bad.
I know.
Sorry, live reaction.
Just nothing. Just nothing. It's like, dude, come on, go
He
lay out.
leaned in with his head first, like in front of a rep. That's bad.
Brother, go lay out a safety. Come on, bro.
That's bad.
Move on.
So it was not just a regular pancake.
No, he was already on the ground, and the guy's just trying to get up, and he just jumps. He just tries to just nosedive into him onto the ground. It looked like he was trying to give him like a shoulder tackle, but like
that's
he
pent
did
up
head
because
first.
that Golden Gopher was talking smack all game. They were up, and he got the blunt of it.
It's kind of like a lawyer during a trial. You tell your witness, now, here's what you are going to say, but you are never going to get upset under cross-examination. Cross-examination happens, and they totally self-destruct. It's only so much a coach can do to train their players. At some point, like Kurt Cignetti said today, they asked him about why he was so successful, and he said, because I have good people. And Woody Hayes said it, you got to have good people, and I just don't think we have the good people right now.
So your mindset has changed on Spignetti then?
My mindset has changed on Cignetti because Cignetti went to Oregon, and they beat Oregon.
Yeah.
And because they're showing consistency, and it's also changed because Michigan State could have been a letdown game. They didn't get complacent.
That's true.
Yeah, that impresses me. But
I knew Indiana was good, and I'm happy y'all are all seeing why. Because I was one of the few people at the beginning of the year, like, they look good. Spignetti does win.
I really hope that Mendoza's a New York Jet by this time next year.
They're not going to be a New York Jet. No.
We're getting that number
one. It.
Why are you mad at him? Why are you mad at him?
At who?
Anyone that you would wish to be a Jet.
Oh, right. Because I'm a Jets fan. And we
Sorry.
I don't believe you.
Sorry. I'm a Rutgers fan and a Jets fan. I hear it all
I don't believe you're a Jets fan. There's no way that you would throw your reputation behind an 0-7 team. I know you,
I
Gabe.
didn't choose them. They chose me. How many times? You're a New York
I believe that he's a Jets fan because he's not afraid to say that he's a Jets fan.
Pittsnipe Husker. I need to tell Pittsnipe Husker something because this really highlights the problem.
What you got?
Here, Gabe went to the Lincoln Financial Center game.
Oh my God!
On a Sunday, and he went there with like no gas in his car. And after the game, he tried to leave and he ran out of gas. And I said that is symbolic, not only of the Jets but of Rutgers. I mean, right, Gabe? You know what I'm saying? Nebraska does not have those same systemic issues. Nebraska wants to win. They want to win now, and they're going to spend all the money they can to do it. I predict in the next 4 years, you will see Nebraska in the college football playoff and make a deep run.
And Jason, you nailed it in the coffin with that one. I would not have chosen to be a Mets fan. I would not have chosen to be a Jets fan. I would have chosen to be a Knicks fan, even though they have sucked for most of my life because they're still better than the Nets. But they chose me. For whatever reason, when I was a baby, I guess maybe I liked their colors or the players I thought were cool or like nice or something. But yeah. They chose me. I had nothing to do with picking them.
If you had a chance to re-choose, which team would it be for the NFL?
Well, the Giants are the better organization of the two, and I'm not a Bills fan because they're the only team in New York. When from MetLife Stadium, you can see the New York City skyline.
I live 2 miles from Giants Stadium. I have no choice.
Well, you do have a choice. You just chose directly.
I grew up on Ravens football, and that's where I stand.
Pittsnipe Husker, what were you gonna say?
Well, you remember the video game NBA Jams?
Yeah,
of course, yeah.
And you just get your two guys, right? And I remember watching the North Carolina with Worthy and Michael Jordan versus Georgetown. I watched that live with my dad sitting in our living room. against Ewing.
Every show with this shit.
Roll forward. I'm in the Navy, and we got an NBA Jams freaking arcade game in our lounge, man. And I wore out the Knicks with J.R. Ewing. I don't even remember who the other guy was.
Ewing. Let's see. There was
John Starks.
There was Allen Houston, right? Latrell Sprewell, Charles Oakley, Anthony Mason.
Starks.
All right, here's the problem with Starks. I love Starks, but in Game 7 against Houston, he decided to go like 0 for 97 from the three-point line.
He has the record for the worst 0 for in NBA postseason history, and it happened to be Game 7 of the NBA Finals.
And you know the sad thing? He kept shooting, thinking, I'm going to get out of this.
Hey, was it Deion Waiters or J.R. Smith that said, I'd rather go 0 for 30 than 0 for 3?
Deion
Oh,
Waiters.
Yeah. Love you, Deion. That's the mindset.
Yeah. When it comes to basketball, y'all at least y'all like the Knicks. I grew up on the Nets, so it's just
On the Nets.
Outside of the KD Kyrie years, which should have been longer, but due to the political space at the time in New York regarding the pandemic, Kyrie Irving just said, "Let me not try to win here and just do the mandate." But that's another day for another story.
Let me tell you something about this pandemic. I actually was in New York City during the pandemic, and I went into one of my.
Oh God!
I went into one of my favorite bars/restaurants, and they're like, "You can't come in because you're not wearing a mask." And I said, "I come here all the time." They're like, "No, you have to be wearing a mask." You know what I told them? I said, "I am wearing a mask." And they looked at me confused. I said, I do have a mask on. And you know what they did? They escorted me out forcefully and said, you can't come in. And you know what? Look, all I'm going to say is this. I got escorted out of my favorite restaurant for no reason whatsoever, just because I wasn't wearing a mask. And I don't know why I'm talking about this. All I'm going to say is this. They have the best food, and I missed out that night. But anyway, so Pitt Snipe Husker, what is your prediction for Nebraska's record at the end of this year? You guys didn't get the joke, by the way, about I'm wearing a mask. You didn't get the joke. And Donovan, I'm surprised you didn't get it because you're a savvy guy.
I got the joke. It's just I've been living in New York during the time when it all happened, and then living a little bit in the South as well during that time. It was just two different worlds. Worlds.
It was crazy.
I'm happy that the world has progressed past it, though.
Yes, sir.
So Lamparello is just litigation walking around on the streets. All right. We all know this.
Go ahead. I mean, look, the reason I didn't want to wear a mask, well, I did wear a mask for most of the time, but then it got to the point where it's like, I'm in a restaurant, right? So if I order a drink and I order food, I got to take the mask off. So what's the point of having the mask?
Well, you were allowed to take off your mask when you sat down, but not if you got up and walked around.
Right, and then I tried to.
Y'all were able to take it off? I didn't even try. The way you tried to, it was a dirty look.
It's called Cuomo chips because Cuomo was the mayor of New York at the time. No, sorry, the governor of New York at the time. And basically, it was a rule that if you went to a bar, you couldn't drink at the bar. You had to get something to eat too. So they invented these things at bars called Cuomo chips, and they would sell them for $1 just so that you could be a customer at the bar during COVID.
Yeah, well, when I was in that restaurant and the owner, I'm like, look, I just want to think. He's like, all right, listen, buddy, get lost. We're taking you out. And then some random patron who was sitting at the table is like, she gets up, she's like, yeah, get that bum out. I said, what's your problem? What happened to you? She's like, shut your mouth and get out. And I sat there on in Greenwich Village, like, all right.
What I do?
I'll get a mask. I went to Walgreens, or I think it was Walgreens or CVS. I got a mask. I walked back in, and they're like, sorry, pal, you can't come in. I'm like, but I have a mask on now. They're like, get lost. I mean, did you believe this? I feel like I was mistreated.
Yes.
My tough times during that pandemic era was just going to the gym and knowing that you have to, if you are looking to hit a PR, you would have to do it with a mask on while sweating. God. So at that time, this was back when I just started being able to squat 405. I hit that PR with a mask.
Oh.
Damn, bro.
It was.
405 is
It
nothing.
felt, it felt like I was playing at Mile High Stadium trying to do squats. Like
Damn, bro.
my lungs were going. Like I needed to get away from the rack for like a couple of minutes because I just had to be able to breathe. It just I was just looking around so nobody saw me. Just try to take it off a little bit, just get some air.
Donovan, I know you remember when classes came back. The first
I was
of the year.
I got lucky. I got lucky because once the Zoom classes and all of that happened when I was a junior in high school. So like it didn't affect me as bad. Like once like I was a senior, people were able to I had a prom and a graduation. So like it only affected class of 2020. So I was happy. It didn't affect
Donovan's young. Does
I
your mom know you're here?
What?
I said, damn, Donovan, you're young.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Donovan,
young but old soul when it comes to sport.
Whatever, Gabe. Donovan thinks he's so strong and can squat over 400 pounds. Guess what? I will tell you. I went to the gym a few weeks ago, and I did 2 squats of 105 pounds, and that's accomplishment.
That's impressive.
Over 400
that's
pounds.
Impressive.
My squat's not much better than that. I don't squat as much as I should. I hit legs, but I don't squat as much as I should.
For Donovan to be squatting over 400 pounds means that he can take people and throw them long distances. So Donovan is oh man, I need your help. So Pinstripe Husker, I was going to ask. I don't know how this guy goes. What is your prediction for Nebraska's record this season and bowl prospects?
I'm going to get to that record prediction, but I want to give y'all a different perspective on the whole COVID thing, if I might.
Sure.
Out here in Nebraska is very different than the urban environment you guys were dealing with. And I mean, that had to be a kick in the nuts. Now, I could run around all over creation without a mask and never encounter another human being.
Yeah.
That being said, all of my 3 nephews, all 3 of them have cystic fibrosis. All 3. The odds of it happening are astronomical. In the same time period, my sister entered hospice care for cancer. Oh. So while we're going, I'm not turning it that hard, but what I'm saying is, from that perspective, I couldn't give a damn about what somebody thought about masks or what somebody thought about whatever. I was living in a sterile environment. COVID could have killed my nephews. COVID would have killed my sister, but the cancer got her first. It was just a place where I didn't get the luxury of debating about whether this mask is necessary or is it not. It just was part of the deal.
Yeah, I said that as well when it came for me of that. Like when I was playing in the South during my time in prep, for me to even leave New York to go to South Carolina, you had to have it on. So it was just something that like I just acclimated to because I was like, you know what, if I'm gonna be able to do everything, you gotta do it. So it's just something that it's like taxes.
In all seriousness about COVID, I mean, I know we're joking around, but in all seriousness, one unfortunate thing is that my father, he was 82 years old, and he had gotten the vaccine. He got 2 shots of the vaccine, and it was very late during COVID. I mean, not late, but it was in 2022. And my mother's friend passed away, and she went to the the wake, and at that wake, there were like 20 people there, 25 at that point. And somebody had COVID, and everybody got COVID, and she brought it home to my dad, and he died 2 weeks later. And it was just like, it was one of those things where COVID hit some people.
For sure.
For some people, it didn't have any effect, but it was like my dad had gotten through the first over 2 years of it, and then just when she goes out and does that, and it was a really sad thing, and prayers for all the people who passed away from this unfortunate incident. But if I was in Nebraska, I've never been to Nebraska, Pitt Snipe Husker, but I have heard that Lincoln is one of the coolest towns that people rarely ever see. Is that true?
Lincoln's a good town. I went to college there for a minute. Then I ended up in the Navy, and then I came back. Lincoln is the size that it has the footprint of Boston. It's large. It's sometimes very difficult to get north to south in Lincoln. That's one of the main complaints about living there. But it's a nice little town. It's a nice little kind of big town. All the things are there that you would want in an urban environment or a suburban environment. All the things are there. At the same time, it's not without its problems. But yeah, they've really carved out a nice little corner for people that want to visit our town.
Wow.
And one of the things that runs deep through Nebraskans is just this mentality of be a good host. You're going to hell if you're not a good host. Be a good host. And so, if you ever get a chance to come, you look for those people. They'll wave at you, and they have some of the best food out in the parking lot. And have a good time when you come to town. That's all we want.
Yeah, and I'm going to do that this summer because I have something on my bucket list. It is called the College World Series, and I am finally going to go to Omaha because the College World Series is so
Omaha.
Say it.
Omaha.
Okay, but anyway, I'm going to go to Omaha.
Oh, you should get that.
Isn't that a football call?
I followed it.
Peyton Manning.
I think Peyton Manning, when he was quarterback, just started screaming things out because he made himself look important.
It was his signature. That was like his cadence.
The go-to audible.
It's certain. You know what it's better than? It's certainly better than. Yeah, here we go.
Hit snipe.
My theory on that is that whenever you watch the Cowboys and they're losing, do you think when you listen to Dak Prescott's cadence, doesn't it sound higher and higher as they start losing more and more?
Yeah, now that you mention it. Also, did he stop the "Here we go" or does he still do it?
Nah, he still does that. That's their cadence.
It's Kermit under center, man.
So what's better? And by the way, I have just two quick questions. As far as Omaha goes, why didn't Peyton Manning choose a different city like Las Vegas or like San Francisco? Why did he pick Omaha? Number two, Pitt Snipe Husker. What a dumb comment. What's a better city, Lincoln or Omaha?
They're so close and they're so linked. It's like 60 miles between the two of them, but it doesn't really matter. Lincoln is a little more rural, small townish feel to it. The university in particular is kind of cordoned off in a way that, okay, the people that are going to come to Lincoln to see a ball game, you got the Haymarket, you got a little downtown. It's all there in one corner. Omaha is much more expansive. Omaha is like two Bostons.
Wow.
Again, we don't have to build up here. We just build out.
Okay.
So things are, man, it could take you 35 minutes to get from one side of Omaha to the other.
Gotcha.
Both of them are good towns to live in. There's some good tech and banking and business jobs in both cities. I've lived in both. I've enjoyed both.
Is that where
Currently, I don't live in either.
Is Creighton in Omaha?
Creighton is in Omaha, yeah.
Okay.
I didn't even know Creighton was in Nebraska.
Donovan, you and I are going to take a trip to Nebraska this summer of the College World Series.
I'd love to be honest.
Gabe, you can come too.
College baseball is good.
The College World Series in that area around the Quest Center, I don't know if it's the Quest Center anymore. But at any rate, TD Ameritrade Park, all of that has been built up very, very, very nicely. I mean, that used to be hot garbage down there. And that has been developed to where you can come, get your hotel room, stay close, just walk to everything. There's all the food you would want. There's all the events you would want. It's all there. And I mean, you can see the airport from there. So yeah, it's a nice place to visit too.
Awesome. Well, I've only heard good things about Nebraska. I gotta go this year, and you guys gotta come with me, all right? Because I'm afraid of flying, so I need people on the plane with me to calm me down when the plane takes off. Because I say things like, this is too heavy to fly, and it's gonna crash, and I just need someone to calm me down.
I'm afraid of flights too, but I still have to fly it like between 4 and 6 times.
You-
My pops.
Adam needs a pharmacist on the flight. I got you, bro.
Oh, definitely, absolutely. Like Dr. Nick, the guy that used to be the
You need some morphine.
I wouldn't say no. I mean, but
I flew every single week for a year. Every single week, I got on a plane on Sunday night, Monday morning, and I went and set up and did training for Rockwell Automation. So I could be going anywhere in the country.
Wow.
And yeah, when I got on the plane, I got so regular in this. There's a Starbucks in every terminal. So I get my 5-shot caramel macchiato, suck the top out of it on my way into the plane, and I just tap one of the stewardesses and say, "Hey, how are you today, babe? It's good to see you again. I need my 2 doers. I'll pay you when you come around." And they just deliver me 2 little bottles of Dewar's, and I dump them in my coffee, and life was good. No planes crashed while Pitt has his Dewar's.
It's funny.
Do you travel only by bus as a team, or do you guys take the planes too?
For me, first 2 games typically when we play FBS opponents, we fly, but then after that, it's bus. I coach bus.
Why do you get like this private plane where you go into the airport in like the back entrance and the plane?
Yeah, private flight, back entrance. The TSA isn't too much. You just got to bring your ID. They check in with you. They check your bags. They don't really it's not like how it is the TSA at like the typical airports where like you can't bring like an Old Spice body wash or anything of that nature. If there's liquid over a certain amount, they'll throw it out. There's a line where we go grab snacks, Gatorades for the plane because you get dehydrated after every hour of being on the plane. You want to drink at least a Gatorade after every hour of flying, and then we just fly to location.
Do you get it? Do you get the coincidence? Like you played Florida at the first game, flying there, and you were drinking Gatorade. Get it?
And it was invented by the university.
Yeah, they invented it in University of Florida. It felt very full circle. That trip.
You know what I do? And Pitch Snipe Husker, you might appreciate this. I have a routine now on planes. What I do is I drink 2 glasses of Chardonnay and I put on the original Rocky movie every flight I go on. And it works.
But you know everything that's going to happen.
It doesn't matter. It makes the plane not crash.
Well,
it's a comfort. I see it as like a good luck charm, little superstition.
I keep waiting for Rocky to beat Apollo Creed, though. And
so you're superstitious?
I just don't like flying. It's too violent. The plane goes too fast, and then it gets shaking with turbulence, and I think something bad's gonna happen.
You should do that. And by the way, I agree on the turbulence. I hate turbulence. That's my only issue with flying. But you should do that, Adam, right before we face Ohio State, and then maybe we'll win.
I don't know if I'm that powerful, but Pitch Snipe Husker, you said that you flew for a year each week. You must have encountered kind of the turbulence that most people don't.
Yeah, it was twice a week, every week, no matter what. Dude, I'm Navy, and I worked at Duncan Aviation out of Lincoln. I've taken rough flights. Yeah, commercial aviation never bothered me. I just preferred having a couple bottles of Dewar's in me while I did it.
Hey, I could see that. One of my most recent, well, about maybe 4 years ago, I was flying to Spokane, Washington, and we hit turbulence, and I got so scared I accidentally yelled out, "Oh God!" And then this wonderful elderly woman, literally from a couple of rows behind me, sat next to me, and she looked at me. She's like, "What's your name? Let's talk." And she comforted me for an hour, and I was like, "There are still good people in the world."
Yes. And my biggest scare was actually my second most recent flight flying to Florida and it was in like July, it was in August, and you know how Florida gets in the summer. And so we had to do an emergency landing at a different airport because there was a severe thunderstorm in all of Southwest Florida. So instead of landing at Fort Myers, we had to land at St. Petersburg and wait for 2 hours.
Ooh.
And the landing at St. Petersburg was pretty rough too. Like, that was not much better.
That's scary. But last time I flew into Newark was about a month and a half ago. And you know what I did for the first time? On the way out, I kind of put my shoulders up and had a smile on my face. And I looked at the flight attendant and I said, "You mind if I go see the cockpit and just see what it looks like and meet the pilots?" And she's like, "Yeah, no." I was like, "Oh.
No."
But anyway, we do have to wrap up the show. So my final question for everybody here is, what is your prediction for Rutgers Purdue this weekend?
Already gave mine. 21-17 Purdue, unfortunately.
I can see this being a 28-21 win for Rutgers.
Hit Snipe Husker, even though you're a Nebraska fan, your opinion is highly valued. So, what do you think?
31-17 Rutgers.
I hope so.
All right. I am going to go 21-20 Purdue.
Oh, man. We're the Debbie Downers on top here.
Well, I changed ever since I got thrown out of my favorite restaurant in New York City. Great show, guys. And Pitt Snipe Husker, thanks for joining us. Hope you do again. And we are going to make it to Nebraska, and I'm going to be at the College World Series, and I'm going to love it. And the plane is going to make it there. So I'm excited for that. And you guys should come along with us. And if Nebraska people are as nice as they say, it's going to be a wonderful trip. So,
there's never been a plane crash at Omaha Eppley, bro.
There's never been one?
Never one. Not once.
All right.
Knocking wood. I'm knocking wood.
Nice. Now I'm flying to Omaha then. That's it. And then, you know what? From now on, wherever I go in the country, I'm going to fly to Omaha anyway and get a rental car. And drive
Get a connecting flight to Omaha.
Yeah. Hey, we're going to Los Angeles. We're flying to Omaha because it's never been a crash there. I'll drive the way.
Guys, we got to let him do it once, because after once, he ain't never doing that again.
Yeah.
It is like forever to drive across Nebraska.
Newark. Say you go to Europe. You're going from Newark to Omaha to Madrid.
No, I'm not going to Europe. Wherever I go in the United States, I don't care if I'm flying to Missoula, Montana. I'm going to Omaha, and I'm getting a rental car, and I'm driving it, because if nobody's ever crashed there, then that's it. I don't have to worry about anything.
You don't even take the flight out? You wouldn't even trust the flying out of Nebraska to the new airport? Okay.
Nope.
I thought it was that.
So I worked in Georgia for 5 years, and what I would do is drive home for the holidays and summer all the time, these 15-hour drives. And in hour 8 of the drive, you keep thinking, wow, the plane could have gone to Newark, come back, gone and been in Newark again, and I'm still driving. So you got to fly. But Jason O says Rutgers better fucking win. Jason O, this is the best. That's so true. This is the crossroads of the season. Either it's a lost season or it's a salvageable. We'll know this Saturday, and we will be on post game live to hear your comments and take your calls. But as always, guys, Donovan, Gabriel, great show. Diversity of topics. But hey, you never know what's going to come up. So
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's a salvageable season. I would say, do we keep it as a lost season by beating Purdue, or do we have to change everything if we lose them?
I see it salvageable as maybe this team isn't as bad as they are, and they're able to just stay around that 7th win range. Because if they aren't able to win this game, there's no chance of going 7 wins, and it puts their hopes of playing in a bowl game drastically hurts. And I feel like if Rutgers can't even make a bowl, then Shiano is going to be in the hot seat that both Adam and Gabe have been talking about all show.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
Because, like I say, his seat's not hot. It's warm.
Yeah,
it's like 70 degrees right now.
Oh, okay. I like 70 though. It's nice. I would say his seat is at like 78 degrees.
Yeah,
like it's uncomfortable if you're inside. If you're outside, it's manageable.
We shall see, and it's going to be. I don't know. I think it's going to be a very interesting and a great game, quite frankly. So, but again, we'll be on here after the show, and I want to thank Pittsline Pusker for coming on and offering his comments. Also, just fun to talk to you, and hope you come on again. So, we will see everyone immediately after the Purdue game on Saturday, and hopefully, we're coming to you with good news and not further disappointment. Until then, go Scarlet Knights, and we will see you soon.